boy, the winter has gone really south. I'm in the Midwest and it's -11 outside right now, and just this winter's not been fun. Okay, well, this is the Owl House. This is episode 10, Escape of the Palisman. Um, again, this is one of those episodes that first time I saw it, I thought it was a good episode. The first time saw it, I didn't really take that much out of it besides the lesson and some of the little bombshells that were dropped in this one. But once again, revisiting this episode after watching the whole first season, I definitely was like, wow, there's a lot here. So the episode is basically there's once again a main plot and a subplot. The main plot of this episode is Luce having to get Edith's staff Owlbert back from the Bat Queen. Yeah, that's a thing. So what's cool? So beginning of the episode is, King, Ida, and Luce, they're all at the playground. King's playing with, or conquering the other kids, I should say. Like, he takes the slide and he claims that it's his throne, but Kid comes from behind and tells him it's a slide, pushes him down the slide, but King doesn't do it correctly and he tumbles down the slide. And so he obviously then he gets mad and he even does a squeak of rage, which is really, really cute, really, really funny, and it's pure Alex Hirsch in my opinion. I wouldn't be surprised if he does that in real life.
He's like a little tea kettle.
So yeah, so and then while that's going on, Ida's like nestling Albert. She's like scratching him, and Albert's enjoying. And then Luce then asks, like, where'd you get him? And Ida's like, oh, I didn't like find him. I made him out of the bark of this ancient tree. And it's so Ida then kind of talks about how everyone's Palisman is like a partner. It's like it's part of because it's part of the staff, and that it only is the part of their staff because there's a I forget what it's called. It's like Palace Lock? No, not a Palace Lock. It's something lock. Crap, I forgot. No, I thought I had it down. But so like Albert's got this mark on him that only makes him part of Ida's staff, and then Ida's talks about how being Albert is like one of her closest friends, but then she passes out because of the curse, and obviously so they have to leave, and they get back to the Owl House, and Ida is getting ready to fall asleep, and Luce then asks, like, how did she get the curse, and Ida's just like, I don't know. And so Luce is like, how do you not know the person who cursed you? And Ida's like, look, I know I just got cursed when I was young, and that's it, okay? Yeah. So so Luce then, and then Ida's like, don't you have like some sport thing to get to? So that kind of leads into the plot is like Luce is supposed to go to a Grudgeby game with Willow and Gus, and it's a road game, so they have to catch the bus. I wouldn't say it's a bus. It's a Viking ship with wings and legs. I would say that's probably the more appropriate. Yeah, pretty much. So, but unfortunately, there's like Luce shows up in her, she shows up in her in her classic top, but Gus and Willow say that's the colors of the opposing team. So Luce goes into the school and finds stuff in the lost and found, where she says mouth guards go to die, I think, or where mouth guards are lost forever. I don't know. So she goes in, she grabs some gear, she comes out, she jumps, does the splits, and she's like, well, that's the first time I did that. And then the bus actually left, and Willow and Gus actually stayed behind. Will says, "Oh, I wouldn't. We weren't gonna leave you behind." And then Gus is like, "I was." So it seems that they're stranded because they said that the schools in the middle, the schools that they were gonna go to, is in the middle of the island. So and Will was like, "Well, I would ask my parents, but they're busy. But if they weren't, they would have flown us there on their staff." And then, of course, that's when Luz gets the idea of borrowing Ida's staff, Owlbert, to use. But apparently things aren't going well at the Owl House either, because King walks in on Ida and she's the Beast, but she's only halfway Kurt. Like, I mean, she's fully the Beast, but like one of her eyes is fully dark, the other one is still like her regular eye, and even her little gem, I guess if we're gonna go Steven Universe, so her little gem is halfway too. Like, it's partially black, partially gold, and so King realizes really quickly that he can actually command the Beast to do his bidding. Like he can tell it to stay back, sit down, attack. And so, of course, what does King do with this? He goes to the playground and causes havoc with Ida, and so yeah. So that's the subplot of the episode, but the main plot being Luce takes Owlbert, and they're gonna then it first seems like it's gonna go up. She actually hits Owlbert against the wall, like, and she says sorry, and then they get on the staff and they take off, and yeah, it doesn't go well. Like, at first it looks like it's gonna go like they're just ascending into the sky, but then they go and it's just like they're not flying around really straight. They hit a couple of trees, and then they eventually go headfirst into a tree. Yeah, it doesn't. Yeah, it really doesn't go. But one of the major problems is Owlbert actually fractures his head. Like, he hits the ground, and there's this, it's a pretty decent sized crack on his head, and like Owlbert, like, I guess they really didn't. Actually, yeah. Well, maybe they might actually scratch that. They do explain. So Owlbert flies off pretty much because he feels threatened by Luce after what happened, and Luce runs after him, and they eventually, Will and Gus obviously pursue with Luce, and they eventually go into the dark part of the forest, which is where they find the Bat Queen. She has her own lair, and it seems that Owlbert is kind of with her, and so Bat Queen talks to her about, how Owlbert, like, she's like, you, a human, she's like, a human disrespecting a Palisman, and Luce is like, oh, I didn't mean to disrespect, and then Bat Queen's like, well, he told me everything, like, he's like, he told me everything, and they're able to, like, telepathically communicate with each other, Bat Queen and Owlbert, and Bat Queen tells Luce that she's like, you steal, you hurt, you frighten, and it's like, yeah, it's like she stole Owlbert, hurt him, and scared him, basically. So yeah, it's a pretty triple combo there. So so Luce says, like, but of course Luce is like, I'm sorry. I'll do whatever I can. I'll do what I have to, and to get you back. And Bat Queen's like, okay, well, if you want him back, you're gonna have to complete these trials. And then Will, like, kind of warns Luce that no one's ever successfully beaten the Bat Queen in any of the trials. So it makes it sound like it's a really, really, really dangerous set of trials. But Luce agrees to it because, she knows she messed up and she needs to get Owlbert back, or else Ida will kill her, either in beast form or in regular form. And Bat Queen's trials, well, let's look. There's Milk a Spider Demon, which is basically a mixture of a spider and a cow. It's really just a spider with cow parts. Like, you have the horns, you have the nose, you have the things down there, and so Luz, we don't really get to see how she does it. We just see like that spider there, and then it takes off, and then Luz follows and like says, "This is only gonna be harder if you. This is only gonna make things harder if you keep running." And then that's the first trial. The second trial is remove a bee's nest. And at first it seems pretty simple, Luce climbing up a tree to knock the nest down, but then it turns out it's not a nest, it's actually a bee. Like the nose, like the nest is there, but then it turns purple to show that it's not the bee, it's not a bee's nest, it's actually just the bee itself. And then, of course, it attacks Luce. And then the final one is giving the babies a bath. That was pretty funny. Like I think Will is like, why don't we? Will is like, we can help you in this. Like, while she and Gus are trapped in webs, that was probably the funny part. Like Gus continuously tries to break out, but Batqueen just keeps trapping him again. And each time it gets more and more frustrating for Gus. But Luce basically says like it's her fault that she needs to do this. She has to do it alone to prove that she cares about Owlbert. And so yeah, that's going on. King is using the the beast Ida to take over the park. And all the kids obviously are running off scared, and King's like, "Yes, I am." Yeah, but Ida goes berserk as she's transforming into full beast mode, and King had the elixir there with him, because he's like, well, because he's like, let's, in case you turn against me, I'll use this. And so he does. He throws the elixir into Ida's mouth, but apparently she doesn't change back, which kind of makes things a little uh-oh-y. And so Animal Control shows up, and it's the Demon Hunters from episode 6 again, and I like how one of them are like, "Ugh, I can't believe this is what we're doing," and then Kevin Michael Richards is like, hey, this is the only job we got right now, so I want to see some happy faces. Like, the way he says it is so, it's terrifying but freaking hilarious. So they capture Ida, and King knows that he screwed up, so he has to get her. And back in Batqueen's lair, Luce says to Batqueen, like, I completed all your trials, can I get Owlbert back? And Batqueen's like, you've completed the trials, but can you truly prove that you care? And of course, Luce apologizes to Owlbert and promises that she'll never hurt him or do anything like what she did again. Again, I kind of felt like maybe there should have been a moment where Luce, maybe when, I feel like if, because the way that Owlbert flies off, like they crash, and Luce is like, is everyone okay? And then Owlbert sees the crack and flies off. Maybe if Luce was like, well, that was a rough first go, well, let's try it again. And like, maybe like that. Maybe if she persisted to keep going with the fight rather than be like, oh, is everyone okay? Again, it's a nitpick, but Luce makes a promise to Owlbert, and at first it seems like Owlbert forgives her, but then Batqueen like steps in and says, no, you know what, I'm gonna give you one last trial, and it's like, you have to face me in a fight. And so Batqueen attacks Luce. Luce, obviously not knowing how to fight, she mainly runs, and eventually Batqueen corners Luce on the ground, and so Luce notices that Batqueen has I think it's a staff lock. No, is it a staff lock? I don't know. It's anyway, like, so Batqueen has the same mark on her foot as like Owlbert, and so that's when Luce realizes that Batqueen is actually a Palisman as well. And so Batqueen then reveals that she was a Palisman, and that she was broken and discarded by some giants. Like, they never really, like, she doesn't really remember who it was. All she knows that it was just, she was a part of a gigantic stab, and that she was broken. And so she's been spending years, what did she say? I want to say it was hundreds or thousands of years. Like she said, she spent a pretty long time on her own, and while in that time, she's been finding and rescuing all of the other lost, broken palismen that have been abandoned by their owners or discarded. And it's just really, and like, there's this really cool shot where she, like, her eyes start glowing yellow, and like in the background you see all these yellow glowing dots, and it's all the palismen, and like some of the designs are pretty cool. Like I think there was a three-headed monkey, there was a crab, I think there was a snake. I don't, man, I really, I didn't really jot down what I was watching because I was already overboard with notes. So, yeah, so basically, but Bat Queen, Bat Queen tries to attack Luce again, but then Owlbert stands up for her, and, like, Albert's like, and then Owlbert and Bat Queen talk telepathically again, and Bat Queen realizes that Luce really does care, and that Owlbert really cares for Luce, and so the two basically make up, and Bat Queen apologizes, and she's about to fly off, but then Luce is like, if you ever want to know what happened, I would be happy to help. So they kind of leave that door open to a possible story arc down the line with Luce and the Bat Queen. And so while that's going on, Ida's trapped in an animal control carriage, and so Luce and King breaks in and is like, okay, well, the elixir. It's like he's like, okay, the elixir is in your system, so maybe I just gotta snap you out of it. And so he does his squeal of rage to like bring the old Ida back, and of course Ida does come back. She's laughing, and she's like, so small, so tiny, so what or something. And so she transports back into Ida, and they break out, and they get back to the Owl House, and they all pretty much make amends. Well, for the most part, like, Ida's like, Owlbert, what are you doing off your staff? And like Owlbert tries to cover it up, like saying, like, apparently he tells Ida that they went to get ice cream, but Ida's like, okay, that's complete bull. But she's like, luckily for you, I don't really care right now. I just want to take a nap, like, because I'm surprised she didn't deal with Kane right there. And then, like, she said, I'd deal with you later, but she doesn't. Sorry, I had to adjust that for a sec. So, yeah, that's pretty much the end of the episode there. Like I said, first time I saw it, I mean, I like, the stuff about the Palisman and the Bat Queen, like, that was really what stuck with me the first time. This time around, though, I realized, yeah, it's like, this is not only the stuff with Luce and the Bat Queen could be a potential story arc, but the fact that, Ida's elixir wasn't working enough, it's not working enough. It's still working, but it's just not as effective as it used to. And just the idea that the Palisman, like, because Ida said that she made Owlbert, so it kind of makes me wonder how and what Luce is going to use to make her Palisman, and just obviously the idea of what her Palisman will be. Like, there's so, like, just knowing Luce, it could literally be anything. I mean, I'm hoping it's a winged creature. It's a winged creature because, like I said, there was a Palisman that was a monkey. So I wonder how that would work, because you want to have I feel like if you want to have a staff in the show, you kind of want to have one that has wings so it could actually fly. Like, not saying a non-winged creature can't fly with the staff, but it would just look cool with the wings spread in the animation and stuff. So yeah, that was episode 10. We're officially halfway through the season, and I will say right now, the episodes, like, for the rest of the season, there are really, really good, like, it just goes up, like, it just keeps going up, and like the next episode, and episode 14, when we like, next episode, from what I remember, it's a fun episode, but it's a you can argue it's a filler episode. But then episode 14, That's a real filler episode that I really I don't remember liking it, but the rest of the episodes they're really good, and I'm really excited to revisit them either for the second time or for God like the 10th time maybe, and then yeah, all right. Well, see ya.